Hello, MCU fans. Today we're going to look at the fact that The Incredible Hulk has finally arrived on the Disney Plus timeline. And that, of course, means The Incredible Hulk has arrived on Disney Plus, at least in some regions. Right now it's only in Japan and Spain, but the fact that it appears anywhere on Disney Plus in any region means that it shows up on the timeline. So let's dive right in and see what we can learn about its placement. Now, first, I want to point out that the Incredible Hulk movie has actually had a big impact on the MCU. It's one of those Phase 1 movies that's easy to kind of just forget. But, it introduced a lot. Obviously, it brought the Incredible Hulk and Bruce Banner into the MCU, but it gave us Thunderbolt Ross, who later appeared in Civil War, Black Widow, Infinity War, and Endgame, and would probably still be appearing in movies if not for his unfortunate death, the actor William Hurt. And probably the Thunderbolts movie, I'm betting that team will be named in his honor, just like it was in the comics. Betty Ross appears, and while she doesn't show up in any other movies, she does appear in a What If episode, giving us an alternate take on her character. And of course, Emil Blonsky. Very important character. The Abomination has now shown up in Shang-Chi. We're going to see him in She-Hulk, and it's pretty sure bet that the Abomination is going to be a member of the Thunderbolts. Plus, we learn that the government has been still trying to recreate the super soldier serum, because that was one of the many things shot into Blonsky that turned him into the Abomination. And this is a plot line that's obviously was seen in Civil War where the super soldier serum they were experimenting with. In Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it came up again with Nagel. So honestly, a lot of very important concepts were introduced in the Incredible Hulk movie. Plus, we got Mr. Harrington. Mr. Harrington is my favorite teacher from the Tom Holland Spider-Man series, and the actor that plays Mr. Harrington played an unnamed computer nerd at Culver University in the Incredible Hulk movie. So my headcanon says that at some point he left Culver University and joined Midtown High and is teaching there happily today. So one more thing the Incredible Hulk movie gave us. If not for it, we wouldn't have Mr. Harrington. So lots of cool stuff. All right, so let's look and see where it's placed in the timeline order. I like to use this graphic from thedirect.com because they do a great job of condensing everything, and boy, is there a lot. All the movies, all the TV shows, all 5 one-shots show up here. And as we can see, the Incredible Hulk appears between Iron Man 2 and Thor. And that is an interesting placement considering that the Incredible Hulk actually came out in 2008, the same year that Iron Man came out. Iron Man 2 comes out in 2010, and Thor comes out in 2011. So it's interesting that it's placed where it is, but actually it's not surprising, because if we look at this timeline that Marvel Studios put out at their 10-year anniversary, they listed when every movie appears or happens chronologically, so the year that it appears in the MCU. And notice the Incredible Hulk is there shown as happening in 2011, in between Iron Man 2 and Thor, as opposed to during Iron Man's time frame. So, not really surprising that that's where it showed up in Disney Plus. One other thing I want to point out on the timeline is there's 2 other movies, Homecoming and Far From Home, the Spider-Man movies, that are not in very many regions. So if you're surprised to see them here, it is because they are showing up at least in Japan and thus are in the timeline. And in fact, that now means every movie or TV show or one-shot is now in the timeline other than No Way Home, which hasn't really hit Disney Plus Digital yet, and may not be for a while, unfortunately. And, of course, Thor Love and Thunder, which is still in theaters. So pretty cool to see all of this showing up in the timeline. But so it does raise the question, why did they put Incredible Hulk where it is? Well, there's another graphic that Marvel put out around the time of Avengers that shows a concept called Fury's Big Week. It's a 7-day period where at least an essential part of 3 different movies all occurred during that week at some points simultaneously. So what are we talking about? We're talking about Iron Man 2, Incredible Hulk, and Thor. And they all occurred during the time span of April to June of 2011 in the MCU timeline. Now, Fury's big week, where they overlap with each other for 7 days, that's the end of May, beginning of June of 2011. But some of the movies, have a longer span, so that's why April to June encompasses the entirety of the movies. But there actually were some hints that these were going to be tied together, because if you look back at Iron Man 2, there on the monitor, we see Tony Stark actually watching a news report about the battle at Culver University that the Hulk was in. And then also in Iron Man 2, we see Coulson leave Tony Stark's side, and then he shows up in the Thor movie, and his journey is chronicled in the one shot, A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to Thor's Hammer. And then in July of 2011, we have The Consultant, another one shot that basically incorporates the end credit scene from The Incredible Hulk and ties everything together with this Fury's Big Week concept. So there you have it. That's where the Incredible Hulk shows up in the timeline and how it fits in with everything. Let me know what you think. Do you like this concept of Fury's Big Week? I think it's kind of cool, but I know some people don't really like it. Do you like the fact that they moved the Incredible Hulk forward from the year it was released to actually be happening 3 years later in the MCU timeline in 2011? And are you excited to see it eventually when it shows up in your region? So leave some comments below if you have something you want to share. Like the video. You can check out more videos. And in the meantime, continue to enjoy the ever-expanding, ever-growing Marvel Cinematic Universe.